Well, this is my first ever scripted video, but I'm very passionate and excited about this. Today, I'm going to analyze and rate the games of the Big Tower Tiny Square series, and before I get into anything, I want to commend Evil Objective. I always call it Big Objective, what the heck. I want to commend Evil Objective for making these games, and CoolMathGames for letting me, being somewhere where I can play these games. To research for this, I replayed all the games in the series, which are up on my YouTube page as of the making of the script. The gameplay, that's shown throughout the video is all mine, and yeah, it's the YouTube videos that I made. Just to make it clear, I'm going to be rating each game off of how fun it was to play and how hard it was. So, at the end, I'm going to make a tier list of the games from the worst to best. Just to clarify, none of these games are bad. Just some I like better than others, But with all that out of the way, I'm going to start talking about the second game in the series with severe air quotes, Big Tower Tiny Square. Big Tower Tiny Square is the second game of the series and was released by Evil Objective on February 5th, 2018. It was released on Steam CoolMathGames and is also, you can play it as a web game, and even though I did play it for free, I highly recommend you pay for it on Steam because, the Evil Objective is going to need funding for the future games, if there are any. But seriously, it's only 99 cents, and even though that's kind of hypocritical coming from me, who didn't pay for anything, yeah, pay for it, trust. The basic plot is that you're a tiny square and you have your best friend Pineapple. Your best friend Pineapple gets kidnapped, as all your best friends do, and, Big Square brings your best friend up to the top of his tower, classic Mario antics, and you have to catch Pineapple at the top, so you can have your best friends, because you're absolutely lonely without your friends, and, when you get to the top, you press a button, thinking that it's going to kill Big Square, but no, it kills your best friend. So now you're friendless, and your enemy is still very much alive. It is then revealed that at the bottom of the tower, there's another switch that will kill Big Square. Oh, how does that feel the first time playing it? I remember when I was in 3rd grade, playing this game, and I was like, I have to go all the way back down to the bottom after my best friend just died. And it doesn't even feel good, because at the end, it's just revealed that he isn't even hurt by the lava that he's dropped in, so that's just a punch in the face. I'm not going to explain the plot for the rest of the games, because it's really repetitive. Pineapple keeps getting resurrected. Big Square never dies. He just, gets protected by, I don't know, oh, I stopped time. Ooh, I actually have wings. Ooh, I got, I don't know, friggin' God on my side. So, now that the plot is out of the way, the mechanics can be talked about. Mechanics, there's not that many of them. You move. Guess what you use that for? Guess what you move with? The A and D and the, side keys. Yeah, that's pretty simple. You have wall jumps, infinite wall jumps. You can use them on the same wall and you'll still go up. And also just jumps. Up arrow key, W, whatever you use, spacebar if you're weird. Those are the only movement mechanics, so now I can talk about obstacles. First obstacle, spike box. It's exactly what it sounds like. If you touch it, you'll go back to the previous checkpoint. Speaking of checkpoints, you're gonna go to the previous one after you hit a spike box, cause, you suck. And checkpoints are spread throughout all of the game, through all the floors, and I'd say they're scattered pretty well throughout this game. Laser traps, they resemble cameras, and they'll shoot little lasers at you. If the lasers hit you, you're dead. If you touch the camera box, you're dead. There's a lot of things you can die to in this game. Next thing is lava. If you don't know what this does, what are you even doing? Get some education, because lava, guess what? It kills you when you touch it. Wow! Who would have thought of that? Water. It's just water. You swim in it, and be careful, because the gravity is a bit floaty, so yeah, you're a bit more susceptible underwater. Hold up, let me scroll down my script. In this game, there are a lot of There's several water sections, none of them too long, but the longest one is in the mid game, so just beware. Where am I? Where am I in this script? Oh, in some versions of the game, there are brown platforms that, when stepped on, move the player from one point to another. But for some reason, in the version of the game that I played, there were none. And one of the other mechanics is the deteriorating block. It's really weird. It isn't used in many of the games, but every time you touch it, it regresses in stability. And, if you touch it several times, it'll disappear, just like me. One of the other obstacles is the moving platform. These usually loom above lava pits and are used to get across lava sections. Under this classification is a different type of moving platform that comes at the end of a floor and brings the player from one floor to another. It's basically an elevator. When mobility comes to mind, it's important to talk about the jump pads. Jump pads are like, Geometry Dash jump pads. Like, they're basically just yellow and thin, and when you jump on, it boosts your jump. And another type of platform is a semi-solid. Come on. If you played any platform game, you know what this is, but if you don't, I'll explain it. Basically, when you jump up from under, you don't, bonk your head on the platform, but when you, on your downfall, you stand on it like a normal platform. It's pretty simple. But, one of the more technical obstacles, I like this one, but the sections used with it are kind of long. It's the button and door system. There's a door blocking the way that you're supposed to go, so you have to go out of your way to go find a button. And it's actually kind of fun, because, once you've gone up to tower and you've used all of the button and door systems, you kind of just get to skip a lot of the sections that were harder, going up. So that's kind of fun. The final obstacle is the yellow portals. These aren't really obstacles, but they move you around. So, it's... Why do I have to explain these things? You go in the portal and you move across the level, and sometimes, you go across the screen or up to another screen. Also, scattered among the floors are squares that'll give tidbits about the gameplay, drop lore, help you learn mechanics, or tell jokes. Talking squares! Overall, I would rate this game a 6.5 enjoyability-wise and an 8 out of 10 difficulty-wise. It obviously doesn't mean it's a bad game, just one that could be very much improved by the future ones. Before I criticize it too much, though, I just want to give it its credit where it's due. So, if it hasn't been clear by what I've said so far, I love platformer games, so this gave me a lot of fun. The mechanics were very well integrated and executed, and I love how it was done. I think the twist of having to climb back down the tower was very cool and kind of cruel. It was a very good basis for the series. Now for the gripes. Yay! First, this is a problem with a lot of the games. I feel like it was too many floors. By the last few floors, the gameplay was just getting a bit too technical and complicated. And yes, this can be a skill. What am I talking about? This can be called a skill issue, but I played it a lot of times, and it always ups my attempt count by twofold. It feels like too many times I have to restart a checkpoint because of how unfairly placed the laser boxes were, or it's just such a tight time frame. It isn't as bad as the second problem, which is the physics. So, if I have any good editing skills, you're probably watching gameplay of the game right now, and, well, the physics are not that good, I'm gonna be honest, because you go way farther if you're, running while you're jumping, and you're gonna go way farther horizontally than you are vertically. You go low and far. It feels very floaty to play, and reduces the feeling of control by a little bit. Other than these two things, the game is fleshed out pretty well. For the second game in the series, I think it's fleshed out pretty well. The first game in the series is Big Ice Tower, Tiny Square, Trump's favorite, and that is what we're going on to next. Now, what may seem confusing, and you probably think I'm dumb and unintentional for saying this, is, Finn, if this is the first game in the series, then why didn't you cover it before Big Tower, Tiny Square? Shut up! My answer for that is I didn't even know it was the first game until I researched when this game came out. But weirdly enough, Big Ice Tower Tiny Square is the first game and was released on November 26, 2017. Why is it the first game in the series when there's an adjective in the name? And also, it comes chronologically after the events of the first game? I don't know. It's really weird. But I still feel like Big Tower Tiny Square is the first game in my heart, and that, it's a better introduction to the series. This game was released by Evil Objective, and alongside its release in late 2017, was also released on Steam the same day that Big Tower Tiny Square, the original, was released. Along with all the other games, the footage of this game is from my playthrough I did on CoolMathGames. Give me a sec. I do not usually talk this much. What the heck? The plot of this game is that Big Square is at the top of an icy tower, and you have to climb up all those, and you get it. But, the new thing with this game is that you have two options at the top that say forgive and revenge. Either one, whichever one you press, you're gonna kill Pineapple again. It'll just reveal a burnt pineapple. It's not graphic, but it'll just reveal a burnt pineapple, and then, you just kill him again, no matter if you choose forgive or revenge, which is kind of funny yet kind of dark. When you press the second switch, whichever one that is, it'll make the switch, that's at the bottom of the tower you couldn't get before, it'll make it accessible. So, you hit that switch, when you get back down, it summons Father Squaremas. I forgot to mention, this game is Christmas themed, which is kind of funny and, kind of cool. Father Squaremas, and he reprimands Big Square, but is eventually convinced to join Big Square's cause to take over all the towers. The dialogue is so dumb in this game, because he says, okay, I'll join your cause because I am easily convinced. For this game, a lot of the mechanics are the same, such as the spike boxes, laser boxes, portals, but now they're pink and purple, and, checkpoints and other things. It does introduce some new mechanics, though, such as waterfalls. I wouldn't call it a real new mechanic, just a reskin, but when you jump in it, it acts the same as water from the original game. One of the more important new mechanics is ice blocks. They're blue, because, of course, ice is, even though it's actually clear. But, when the player walks on them, they have ice physics. Ice physics make it slippery and also harder to stop. Another new mechanic is the laser bar, which can be either on forever or, turning on and off in a rhythm. When you touch them, they kill the player instantly, because, it's a freaking laser. What do you expect? Do you just expect a slow, grueling death? Actually, you kind of would expect that, but anyways, also talking squares are in the game again, serving the same purposes as the original. Overall, I would rate this game an 8 out of 10 enjoyability-wise and a 6 out of 10 difficulty-wise. As before, I'll elaborate on the good parts before the bad ones. This was pretty enjoyable, and I like the inclusion of ice physics and a well-paced difficulty slope. It does have the problem of having the same physics as the original game, and in some parts, specifically one of the laser bar sections near the middle of the tower, it's kind of difficult. But it's a 6 out of 10 difficulty-wise, mainly because of how short it is. I do like the inclusion of sideways shifts between screens. That's something that the original didn't do, and kind of fun new twist. I know this game came out before it. It feels so weird to say that the original, with air quotes, is, I don't know. Anyways, with the first two games down, now I have to talk about Big Neon Tower. So, Big Neon Tower. Don't like it. I'm just going to preface it with that, and it's definitely the hardest game. I know I usually save gameplay critiques and analyses towards the end of each game's review, but I want to make that immediately apparent, because, God. Big Neon Tower vs. Tiny Square was released on April 26, 2021 by Evil Objective. Yeah, they kind of took a 3-year hiatus. But the plot of the game, you already know. But, yeah. If you really care that much about the plot, who are you? Why do you exist? I'm joking. So, the game switches up the mechanics a lot. A lot. So I'm going to go over the new ones it introduces. First, the player still jumps the same, wall jumps and moves the same. The physics change between, the original games and now. because, you aren't floaty. So that's at least one good thing about this game. It has good physics. The moving platforms come back again, but now they have hazardous underside. Like, if you look at them in the game, they're just like triangles with red squiggles on the bottom. I'm not even joking. Also, there are collectibles in this game. Across all the floors, there are 12 cherries that can be collected. No reward is given for collecting them, like, congratulations, you kissed the game's ass. Yeah, the only thing it gives is satisfaction to completionists. The whole thing with them is that they're placed in locations that make it hard to obtain, hard to carry to the next checkpoint when it gets saved, or, both of them. The main source of mobility, other than jumping, is the hangrail, which the player hangs on until the end of them. No, it's not hangnails, I'm not stupid. Well, I am, but anyways. One of the main enemies in this game is the guard box, which, when you get close to, activates and chases you around until you A, die, B, go to another floor, C, get far enough out of their range of sight that they don't care, or D, hide in a cannon. It's basically like the camera boxes, laser boxes, whatever, from the previous games, except it follows you around like a creep. They're one of the enemies that make it very difficult to collect all of the cherries, especially the last one. I hate that last cherry. If you look at the whole playthrough on my channel, it's so infuriating, because that last cherry, you have to, never mind. But another one of the hazards is the laser bars, which are just like the ones in Big Ice Tower. I previously mentioned cannons, and these are dispersed... Why did I have such a bad voice crack? I previously mentioned cannons, and these are dispersed throughout the tower, and when you run into one, you stay inside of it until you press the jump button, which sends you rocketing out of it with increased force. Why does it say that in the script? That's so weird. I'm gonna redo that. Until you press the jump button, which sends you out of the rocket with more force than a normal jump. The button and door system makes a comeback, yeah, in a yellow and sometimes purple look. And instead of spike boxes in this game, it has spike triangles, which behave the same way and always spin, weirdly. Also, the talking squares are back! Still doing the same as they did before. Lava and freezing water are in this game, but normal water is in this game. Oh, I forgot something from Big Ice Tower. Big Ice Tower has freezing water. If you jump into it, it behaves like lava, you freeze to death, because you're a soy boy. For enjoyability wise, this is the lowest. I'm going to give this game a 5.5 out of 10. And for difficulty, a 9. I want to say this game is a low point in the franchise because of how long it is, the camera now following the player instead of staying static on the room. Too many mechanics. I mean, I went on with mechanics for like 2 whole minutes. And the bad difficulty curve. There are some good things, like the appealing look to it, the resemblance of the 80s arcade. The gameplay is playing right now. You see what it looks like. It's kind of cool. And also the physics! Yay! The difficulty for this game is so high because of how hard the last few cherries are to collect and the overly precise last 4. I'm not even joking. On the beginning of the last 4, you have to jump on single-space platforms while avoiding spike triangles in the first part, and you have to time your run to get to the last cherry while avoiding the timed laser bars in the guard box coming to get you, making it a very stressful and calculation-required section. I can say after beating all 5 games that this is the hardest game out of all of them by a landslide. Now is the 4th and possibly most creative game, Big Flappy Tower. If you're really waiting for this video to end, first of all, what are you doing here? I mean, if you hate the video so much, just log out of it. I'm joking. But now we're gone to the 4th out of 5th game. Big Flappy Tower versus Tiny Square. I don't know why they had the versus. It's kind of weird. I mean, just make it Big Flappy Tower, Tiny Square. It's boom. It's just as good. It's the 4th game in the BTTS series, and it was released on September 2nd, 2021 by Evil Objective, and it was a web game and on Steam, just like the previous games. Also, I want to note, the first game is 99 cents, and then all of the other ones, Ice Tower, I guess, isn't on there now. I guess my logic was outdated, or my facts were out. What? But all of the games except for the original are $4.99, so actually, just play it on web browser. I don't know what I was on about earlier, but anyways, oh yeah, the plot of this game is that Big Square resurrected himself in Pineapple and gives them both wings. Okay, I'm not going to explain that. The mechanics of this game don't change too much from Neon Tower, and the other ones, you know, they still do change a good amount, but not too much. The biggest change is the inclusion of flappy jumps. I really like this mechanic. The concept is that after you jump off of an initial platform, you have 3 extra jumps to use when airborne to make it to the next platform. While in the air, there are occasional boxes with wings that reset your amount of jumps back to 3. When you hit solid ground, your flappy jump amount resets to 3 also. In this game, instead of laser bars, spike boxes, or laser boxes, there are red hot pipes. Not red hot chili peppers, pipes. Like Flappy Bird. These kill instantly and reset the player to the previous checkpoint. And another type of pipes are blue pipes. They're not like, they don't freeze you to death. Unlike, yeah. They just like, when you jump on them, they just don't reset your flappy jumps. The final type of pipe is the windy pipe. Not your windpipe, not your trachea. The windy pipe, you absolute imbecile! Yeah, the windy pipe. It blows out blue circular particles and will blow the player upwards. Also, moving platforms are back. And talking squares! For enjoyability-wise, I'd call it an 8 out of 10, and for difficulty, a 7. Unlike the last tower, I'll explain the good things first. First of all, I love the inspiration from Flappy Bird and the inclusion of the flappy jumps. Another thing is the difficulty slope. Unlike BTTS OG, it's so weird to say that, and Neon Tower, the difficulty slope was very well done. It introduces the mechanics appropriately and then rolls with them, making them harder as the game progresses, eventually leading to the last 4, which skyrockets in difficulty, which leads us to the problems with the game. Even if the difficulty slope is well done, the last challenge before the final floor with Big Square is extremely tight, and your use of the flappy jumps need to be planned out and executed meticulously. Like, I died a ton of times to that part, because it's like, what the heck, you got these single space... I don't know, it's hard to explain, but, yeah, it's the only really tough part, and it honestly just might be a skill issue. Another thing, the camera still follows the player, which feels like it takes away from what the previous game had. I didn't really explain this in the Neon Tower section, but I hate that that it's following the player now. The camera is following the player, because before it feels like it takes away from the original, just like I said. And also, I get it. Oh, because the floors are too big. Make the floors smaller, huh? Did you think of that, huh? It kind of makes it feel like a different franchise, just with the same name. And, it's still a tiny square and the same characters. Yeah, shut up. Other than that, I really like this game. Now it's time for the 5th game, Big Tower Tiny Square 2. Big Tower Tiny Square 2 was released on March 17th, 2022. It's immediately ironic just because of the name. It's the 5th installment in this series, and it's called number 2. I will explain there is an actual reason for this, and it's because it's a reskin of the first tower, just with alternated gameplay and, some of the same basic structures. Although I do think that there are more floors. But the plot of this is that... Why am I still talking about the plot? Nobody cares! Sorry for the 3 people who do care about the plot. For mechanics, it doesn't introduce anything, but instead uses all of the mechanics, a lot of the mechanics from the past games. So instead of explaining them all, I'll list the mechanics used. These include 1 flappy jump, spike boxes, checkpoints, laser boxes, red pipes, wind pipes, handrails, yellow, purple, and blue portals, semi-solid platforms, moving platforms, lava, water, button and door systems, bounce pads, talking squares, but this game is a definite 9 out of 10 for enjoyment and a 7 out of 10 for difficulty. I love how it integrates a bunch of different mechanics and obstacles from the games before it, and still maintains a good difficulty curve and level. It's an amazing game to speedrun. I've speedrun this game 20 times. It's kind of pathetic, but oh well, I guess I'm number 1 speedrunner of Big Tower Tiny Square 2. Woohoo! When it comes to difficulty, it's around the same as Flappy Tower, easier than Neon, and a bit harder than Ice Tower. it can get tough near the top of the tower, but after a few attempts, it'll be quite bearable. Now that all the games have been researched and rated, though, I'm gonna list them from worst to best. Alright. I feel like everybody knew this was coming, but in the number 5 spot is Big Neon Tower. I mean, this was very difficult and tried to introduce a lot of things in only so many floors. I think it tried to introduce so much because it was trying to be a different franchise than what the other two games had set up. Because, like, you could see just by the footage that, I don't know, like, the graphics were so different and the mechanics were all redone, and it's so weird. The collectibles were also a weird one-and-done thing for the series, and I found it odd to have it in the game in the first place. It wasn't a bad game by any means, but not that good either. And for number 4, my choice was Big Ice Tower. Now, this isn't bad, it's just forgettable. Like, there's a lot of things going on. Like, you know, it introduced the laser bars, all of that stuff. But it still feels like a nothing sandwich. Because, I don't know, it feels like filler. You know? Because it's not a bad game, it has a lot going on. It's just, I always forget that this exists. Like, if I have the choice to play any of the other games, I'm going to probably play this last alongside Big Neon Tower. But yeah, it's not bad. I wish I could say more, but there is nothing more to say. Third place goes to the original game. I really did like this game a lot, and, you know, no matter what the dates say, no matter what that darn calendar says, this is the first game. The thing really holding this back is the physics. I know I complained a lot about the physics, but it's really a big thing, because imagine you're playing, like, one of the best games out there, like Silksong. Imagine you're playing Silksong, but, you know, Hornet is just, like, floating around like she's on the moon or something. Like, would that still be your favorite game? Probably not. Because, you know, who wants... Never mind. It's... The difficulty is what it needs to be, and despite the slope, you know, being a bit wonky, it's a pretty good basis for the other games. Second place is Big Flappy Tower. I play this game a lot. Not as much as Big Tower Tiny Square 2. I kind of just leaked the first place. But, it's almost perfect. It's just almost. The inspiration for this Flappy Bird thing is so cool and is implemented really well. There's no moment when the game gets hard, per se, just gradually getting harder, which is what's optimal, and especially in a platformer. I guess the only thing really holding this back is the camera! Oh yeah, I forgot to mention for Big Tower Tiny Square 2, the camera is static again. Yes! But yeah, first place is ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, nobody needs a drum pull. It's Big Tower Tiny Square 2. Come on. It's the best. I mean, I love it. I love how it isn't too hard. All the different things from the past 4 games are mishmashed. If this is the last game in the series, because it has been 3 years, I'm glad it got a send-off like this. This was an amazing game. I love to play it. It was such a fun game to play initially, and I always play it again. Heck, like today, I played it like 4 more times. I think I'm like unofficially number 3, because I haven't even timed myself, but according to the game, I'm in like 3rd place. I remember playing this game series, like the original game, when I was in 3rd grade, and loving trying to beat it faster than all my friends. I always held and will hold this game series close to my heart. Anyways, I put a crap ton of time into this video and playing the games, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. This is my first real video on this channel, and I hope you like and subscribe and hit that bell, because your bro Tacho here needs some love. Oh yeah.